whispered. That thing's output. It's stronger than our main reactor. Zector's tactical officer stared at the readings, pale. Captain, I'm detecting shield harmonics that shouldn't exist. Their systems are generating more energy than our entire weapons grid. The human vessel hailed them again. Welcome to human space, Captain Zector. I'm Commander Elena Martinez. We'll escort you safely to Earth. Please don't stray from the course. Automated defense systems are sensitive. The word sensitive sent a chill down his spine. As they traveled deeper, the scale of humanity's transformation became impossible to ignore. Every orbital station they passed bristled with defenses. Weapon arrays, planetary shields, and massive shipyards operating non-stop. Dozens of new vessels were being assembled in orbit, their designs sleek and unfamiliar. You built all this in 45 days? Zector asked over the comm. Commander Martinez's voice carried a hint of amusement. No, Captain. We've been building it for 5 years. We just didn't tell anyone. Zector frowned. Why hide it? Because we hoped we'd never need it, she said simply. But hope isn't a strategy. We learned that a long time ago. When Zector's ship entered Earth's orbit, he was stunned. He expected fear, rationing, the chaos of isolation. Instead, he saw bustling cities, glowing trade ports, and fleets of cargo vessels moving in precise formation. Humanity wasn't crumbling. They were thriving. Commander Martinez guided his ship to a docking ring above Geneva Spaceport. Ambassador Chen will see you now, she said. The conference room was quiet, polished, efficient, much like the woman who waited within it. Sarah Chen rose from her chair, extending a hand in greeting. Captain Zector, she said warmly. Welcome to Earth. He took her hand carefully. Her grip was steady, confident, and far stronger than he expected. Your government wants to know if you can force us back into the Council, she said, gesturing for him to sit. The answer is no. You can't, no one can, Zector blinked. That sounds like a threat, Sarah smiled faintly. Not a threat. A fact. She tapped her datapad and a holographic display appeared above the table. A map of the galaxy flickered to life. Thousands of red dots showing failures, riots, shortages. That's the current state of the Council, she said quietly. Communication down by 70%. Trade down by 40%. Medical shortages on 62 worlds. And it's been less than 2 months since we left. Zector stared at the projection, speechless. You did this deliberately. We didn't do anything, Sarah said, her voice calm. We simply stopped doing everything. She leaned forward, eyes sharp. For 300 years, we kept things running. We fixed relays no one understood. We patrolled trade routes nobody else cared about. We stopped wars before they started. And we never asked for credit. We were the glue holding your galaxy together. Zector frowned. Then why leave? Because the glue got tired of being called dirt, she said softly. For a long moment, the only sound was the quiet hum of the air filtration system. Do you know what the worst part was, Captain? Sarah asked finally. It wasn't the insults. It wasn't even the laughter. It was watching our discoveries, our people's work, credited to civilizations that called us children. Zector's throat tightened. That's wrong. Yes, Sarah said, smiling faintly. And we got tired of pretending it wasn't. She stood looking out the window at Earth's glowing horizon. Now the galaxy gets to see what happens without us. Maybe they'll learn. Maybe they won't. But we're not coming back until something changes. When Zector returned to his ship, he was quiet. His report to High Command was short and blunt. Humanity cannot be forced. Military pressure will fail, likely catastrophically. They are not panicking. They are prepared. He hesitated before adding one final note. They are no longer the children of the stars. They are the architects of them. As Zector's cruiser slipped back into hyperspace, the crisis deepened. For on the Zenturi homeworld, a plague long thought extinct had returned, spreading faster than any warship could travel, and the only ones who knew the cure were already gone. By the 70th day after humanity's withdrawal, the galaxy was sick, literally. The Zenturi homeworld, once a shining sphere of coral blue oceans and glassy spires, now lay under quarantine. Hospitals overflowed. The streets reeked of antiseptic and death. Entire districts flickered in and out of lockdown as the authorities tried and failed to contain the spread. The disease had a name older than most civilizations: Relian fever. It had been eradicated centuries ago by humans, but now it was back, and the cure was gone with them. Dr. Kelvara, once among the most respected xenobiologists in the galaxy, stared at a dying patient on her table. The woman's translucent skin burned with fever, her breathing shallow and ragged. The machines that once hummed with confidence now beeped in desperation. Kelvara's hands shook as she prepared another dose of her synthetic cure, a formula she had pieced together from ancient council archives. But she knew it wouldn't work. The human formula had always been more than chemistry. It was process, precision, and subtlety that no one had ever bothered to understand. She pressed the injector against the patient's arm anyway. Within minutes, the patient went still. Another failure. Another death. Her assistant spoke softly. "Doctor, that's the 23rd today." Kelvara turned away, her eyes hollow. "Send the bodies to containment. And start another batch. We're out of reagents." She froze. "Out?" Completely. For a moment, the lab was silent except for the hum of dying machines. Then Kelvara whispered the truth no one wanted to say. "We need the humans." Back on Concordia Prime, the council chamber was nearly unrecognizable. The once grand assembly of 247 civilizations had shrunk. Attendance was sparse. Morale was lower still. The crystal walls that had once glowed with diplomatic splendor now reflected fear and exhaustion. Elder Vexar presided over the chaos, his crystalline body flickering between hues of violet and gray. "We must act," he declared. "This fever is spreading to other worlds. We cannot allow the galaxy to descend into anarchy." Councillor Throne spoke calmly. "Then end the sanctions. Ask humanity for help." The Zenturi delegate, Voxar, the same one who had once called humans children, slammed a gelatinous hand against his table. "They abandoned us. They closed their borders, and now millions of my people are dying because they refuse to answer our calls." Thrawn's voice remained steady. "Perhaps they're waiting for an apology." "Apology?" Voxar hissed. "They should be begging for forgiveness for leaving." A ripple of discontent filled the chamber. The councillors shouted over one another until Elder Vexar raised his chiming voice. "Enough! I will not have chaos in this chamber. We will send a delegation to Earth, 12 representatives from the major species to demand their cooperation." Thrawn sighed but said nothing. He knew how that would go. 3 days later, a delegation ship carrying envoys from 12 species arrived at the edge of Sol system. The leader of the group, Voxar, stood proudly on the bridge, rehearsing his speech about mutual necessity and galactic unity. As the ship crossed into the human perimeter, a mechanical voice came over every frequency. "Attention, foreign vessel. You have entered restricted space. Please state your purpose." Voxar straightened. "This is Delegate Voxar of the Galactic Council. We come to discuss urgent humanitarian aid. Millions are dying. We request an audience." A pause. Then the same cold voice repeated, "Sol system is closed. Please submit all inquiries through official diplomatic channels." Voxar's gelatinous form quivered with rage. "We are using official channels." The voice didn't change. "Sol system is closed." For 3 days, the delegation orbited the boundary, sending increasingly desperate transmissions. No response ever came. At last, they turned back. When Voxar returned to Concordia Prime, he was not the proud delegate he once was. He stepped into the council chamber looking like a broken shadow of his former self. His body had gone translucent, his voice hollow. "They won't even talk to us," he said quietly. "They've sealed their borders. They don't need us at all." Vexar's crystalline form flickered dimly. "Impossible. Every civilization needs trade, needs allies." Voxar looked up, his expression empty. "Not the humans. We thought they needed us. We were wrong. We needed them." The chamber fell silent. That same day, a storm hit the galaxy, not of wind or fire, but of truth. Terabytes of data flooded the galactic network. Thousands of confidential records from council archives, spanning 3 centuries. The leaks revealed everything. Human inventions claimed by other species. Human peacekeeping missions erased from history. Human scientists' discoveries rebranded as joint breakthroughs. For the first time, the galaxy saw the truth. For centuries, the Council had lived off human labor, human genius, and human humility, and given nothing in return. Protests erupted across 57 worlds. Civilizations that had long been dismissed as junior members now saw humanity's treatment as a mirror of their own. 83 civilizations withdrew from the Council within a week. The ancient order that had ruled the stars for 15 millennia was fracturing. Elder Vexar called an emergency meeting, but no one listened. The hall was nearly empty, its echoes more haunting than the arguments ever were. Meanwhile, Thrawn sat in his quarters, reading a private message that had arrived through an untraceable channel. It was short, signed only by one name: Counselor Thrawn. This is Sarah Chen. Thank you for your integrity. Humanity bears no hatred toward you or your people, but the others must learn what it means to ignore those who keep the galaxy alive. Stay safe, the worst isn't over. Sarah, he read the message twice. Then softly he said to himself, no, it's only beginning. Because as the Council crumbled and riots ignited across the stars, deep within human space, vast shipyards lit the void, assembling something no one had ever seen before. And soon the galaxy would learn that humanity's silence was not weakness. It was preparation. The galaxy was breaking apart. Empires that had stood for millennia were now reduced to chaos and silence. The Council's authority had dissolved into fragments, 2 power blocks forming in its wake. One clung to the old ways, led by the remnants of Elder Vexar's order. The other was new, a reform coalition led by Counselor Thrawn and a growing number of younger civilizations who had seen the truth. For the first time in history, the galaxy no longer revolved around the elder races. The myth of their superiority had shattered, and in the center of that broken silence stood one undeniable reality. Humanity had been the foundation all along. Captain Zector found himself summoned to a secret meeting of the Reform Coalition. The chamber was smaller than the Grand Council Hall, less ornate but filled with a different kind of power: conviction. Representatives from over 100 worlds sat in a rough circle, each speaking in turns, their voices carrying urgency instead of arrogance. When Zector entered, they greeted him with quiet respect. He had seen humanity's transformation with his own eyes. That made him one of the few who understood what was truly at stake. Captain, Thrawn said, his reptilian features lit by the soft blue of the room's hollow displays. You've seen what the humans have become. Tell them. Zector stepped into the center. What I saw in their territory defies belief. Their military is beyond anything we imagined. Entire fleets constructed in secret, automated defense grids that can disable warships in seconds, factories orbiting every world producing weapons and ships on a scale we can't match. Their technology isn't just advanced, it's unified, efficient, human. A murmur rippled through the chamber. Someone asked, how could they build so much without us noticing? They didn't build it overnight, Zector said. They've been preparing for years, maybe decades. They knew this day might come, the day they'd have to stand alone. While we mocked them, they were preparing for survival. Thrawn nodded grimly. Because we gave them no choice. Another delegate leaned forward, voice shaking. But why would they keep building all that if they wanted peace? Because peace isn't guaranteed, Thrawn said quietly. And humanity learned long ago that hope without preparation is suicide. The room fell silent. Every civilization represented there had benefited from human innovation. Every one of them now faced the cost of their indifference. Far away in the shadow of Earth's orbit, massive shipyards burned with light. Thousands of workers, human, augmented, and artificial, moved in flawless rhythm. Battleships, carriers, drones, and colossal defense platforms filled the void. Humanity wasn't hiding anymore. They were fortifying. In Geneva, Sarah Chen stood beside Admiral James Corr in a secure conference room. On the wall, a projection of the galactic map displayed a storm of red and orange, civilizations falling into war, trade routes collapsing, and outbreaks consuming entire sectors. The numbers were staggering. We're watching them destroy themselves, one official said bitterly. Maybe it's time we step in. Sarah shook her head. No, if we intervene now, we prove them right that we'll always be there to fix their mistakes. They need to see the world they built without us. Even if millions die? Another voice asked. Admiral Corr's expression hardened. Millions were already dying before we left. We were the only thing holding them together. Now they have to see the truth. This isn't cruelty. It's consequence. Sarah's voice softened. Thrawn and the others understand. They're building something new. When they're ready to talk about real equality, we'll listen. Until then, we stay silent. For a long time, the room was quiet. Then Sarah gave her final order. Send 1 medical ship. Full stock of Rylian fever cure. Drop it in Centauri space. Admiral Kor frowned. What message do we send with it? Sarah's smile was faint but fierce. Tell them because we're better than you. Get well soon. 3 days later, the human medical ship appeared above the Centauri homeworld without warning. It was small, unarmed, and moved faster than any known drive could allow. Before the planetary defense network could react, it released its cargo, millions of doses of the cure, then broadcast the message on every frequency. Because we're better than you. Get well soon. Humanity. Then just as suddenly as it had arrived, the ship vanished into hyperspace. Dr. Kelvara received one of the first vials. She injected it into a patient on the verge of death. Within minutes, the fever broke. Within hours, the patient was awake. Within a day, he asked for food. Kelvara sank into her chair and wept. Not from relief, but from understanding. The humans could have saved them weeks ago. They waited not out of cruelty, but to make their point clear. Compassion is a choice, not a weakness. When word of the cure spread, the galaxy trembled again. Elder Vexar called another emergency meeting. Only 23 civilizations attended. The rest had left the old order behind. The humans mock us, Vexar hissed, his crystal form glowing angrily. They gave the Centauri the cure only to humiliate us. They saved lives, someone countered. They made us look powerless. His voice cracked into a chime of rage. We will remind them who commands the galaxy. We will send a fleet, not to attack but to show strength. That's suicide, one delegate warned. You've seen Zector's report. Vexar's glow flared. Zector is with the reformers now. His words cannot be trusted. The humans are bluffing. It's time we call it. The vote passed by a narrow margin. 12 civilizations agreed to join the show of force. 11 voted no. And so, under the banner of the dying council, a fleet of 47 warships began to gather at the edge of human space. They didn't know it yet, but in 7 seconds, their arrogance would end. The fleet moved in formation across the edge of human space. 47 warships from 12 civilizations, their engines blazing like a wall of light. They were the last pride of the old council, commanded by Admiral Vrel of the Crystalline Empire. To the galaxy watching, it was meant to be a show of power, a reminder that the ancient order still ruled. But to those who knew the truth, it looked like a funeral procession. Vrel stood at the command deck of his flagship, a towering vessel built for intimidation rather than efficiency. The stars shimmered beyond the viewport, silent witnesses to what was about to unfold. He adjusted his uniform, trying to hide the unease gnawing at his crystalline core. All ships, he ordered, broadcast standard council identification codes. Inform the humans of our peaceful intent. We come to negotiate. His communications officer hesitated. Sir, we're receiving a signal already. From them. Put it through. A cold, mechanical voice filled the bridge. Warning. You have entered restricted space without authorization. Power down your weapon systems immediately. Failure to comply will result in defensive action. Vrel's second-in-command, a Centauri tactician, chuckled with false confidence. Automated defense warning. Ignore it. Proceed. Vrel raised his chin. This is Admiral Vrel of the Galactic Council fleet. We demand an audience with human leadership. Failure to comply will be considered an act of hostility. There was a pause. Then the same voice returned, unchanged. Warning acknowledged. Weapon systems detected. Initiating defensive protocols. Every light on the bridge flickered at once. The ship's systems stuttered, dimmed, and went dead. Vrel's command screens went black. The hum of the reactors faded into silence. Across the fleet, the same thing happened. 47 warships, each armed, shielded, and battle-hardened, went dark simultaneously. Report, Vrel shouted. His engineers scrambled, frantically pressing at darkened consoles. Reactor offline. Backup systems unresponsive. We've lost power, propulsion, weapons, everything. Vrel's crystal body pulsed dimly with disbelief. Impossible. No system can hack our cores simultaneously. And then the void lit up. Hundreds of human ships appeared around them. Not slowly, not through hyperspace ripples, but as if the universe had simply decided they existed now. Sleek, angular, efficient. Massive carriers shadowed by swarms of drones. The human fleet had surrounded the Council's armada completely. The comm crackled. This time it wasn't a machine. It was a man's voice, deep, calm, and unhurried. Admiral Vrel, this is Admiral James Core of the Human Defense Fleet. Your ships have been